Hello, hello, hello. I'm just gonna keep shimmying till I get the confirmation that I'm live. Okay, yes, I'm live. Perfect. Shimmying is over. Looks like we are live. I am so excited to share this with you. Hello, hello. I am Brittany Berger, founder of Work Brighter. If you are watching, whether live or in the replay, just feel free to comment and introduce yourself right now. Let me know whether you already use Notion or if you're just like kind of curious. And if you do use Notion, let me know what you use it for. If you are curious but not using it yet, let me know what you're curious about and what kind of intrigues you about it, what's holding you back, all that kind of stuff. Let's work through that. So today I am going to be doing a general walkthrough of my Notion dashboard. If you watch the official office Notion hours with the fabulous Marie Poulin, it is very much inspired by that in terms of like the format and structure, whatever, just like very loose and hands-on and casual. So shout out to her and that fabulous series. I'm planning for this to last no longer than an hour because my fiance works like not even 3 feet away and he's got a call at 4. So I'm not going to do too much of an intro and stuff like that. Plus 2020, whose attention span lasts longer than an hour at this point, right? So this definitely will not be the only video I do about Notion. It is just the first. It is just the most general overview. And so we're not trying to necessarily get through everything in detail. I am just giving you the bird's eye view. And as we go, let me know in the comments what you have questions about, what you find most interesting, because that tells me what I should do follow-up videos diving deeper into. So that is awesome feedback for me to have. It tells me a lot about what future Notion videos should be about. Also, I have a lot of the dashboards that you see today are based off of templates that I created myself and that I sell in the WorkWriter shop. So, we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm not going to do pitching or anything like that, but just know a lot of this is for sale if you want to get it yourself. It is a bundle of, I think it's more than 10 now, 10 templates for $50. So coming in at about $5 each along with the training. So I will point out the specific templates and dashboards that are included in that and which ones aren't and that you might need to go build yourself. And just a little bit more about me before we dive in. And if you are not familiar with me or Work Brighter yet, let's just get to know each other real quick. My name is Brittany Berger. Like I said, I'm the founder of Work Brighter. We are a digital media company that offers the tools, training, and support and accountability that you need to escape the hustle culture mindset and really just redefine your relationships with productivity and self-care so that you see them as kind of part of the same goal instead of in opposition to each other. So in practical terms, that means learning to prevent burnout by prioritizing rest and self-care and letting go of what I like to call productivity guilt and treating that stuff as seriously as you do your work. So my own experience is really shaped with burnout is shaped by physical and mental illness. So that is also a lot of what my workspace is focused on. I used my dashboard for work, but for me, work includes tracking things like my physical health symptoms and my mental health and things like that. So my dashboard is largely shaped around the entire Work Brighter anti-hustle culture mindset. And hopefully you will stick around past just today and this live stream to learn more about that. So now let's dive into the Notion nerdery. All right, so here is my workspace. You'll see in the sidebar, it is a very flat structure. I've got like pages inside of pages inside of pages, databases inside of databases. It is very, very nesting doll. Excuse me one sec. Very nesting doll. So I'm in here all day, every day, 5 or more hours, and there are only like 3 main folders, and just everything is inside that. And I also look at every database or every page or whatever, what have you, as a mini app or a mini tool. The goal is for me, is to prevent jumping around as much as possible. So I've got tons of embedded information, kind of repeat information, stuff like that. And yeah, so start is where I go for quick information. So everything everything starts with start, and I've got a little Sims GIF, just because if you've watched this channel before, you know that Sims is a big motivator around my own idea of balance and productivity. And then I've just got some quick links to some commonly used stuff, and then my areas. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some of those in a second, and then first talk a little bit more about the structure as a whole. And we've got our first comment. Brian says he is a novice Notion user. So awesome. Hopefully this stuff is simple enough. I really try to keep things simple for myself. I feel like it's really easy to fall into the trap of making your system more complex the longer that you've been using it. But like, just for my own sanity, I really try to avoid that. So hopefully that makes it as great for Notion novices as for Notion nerds. All right, back into my workspace. So yeah, I like to think of it as a lots of different tools. So we've just got like the starting one, which is the overview. Then planning, which is like looking forward and kind of in the moment as well. And then reviewing, which is looking back. And then areas is kind of current as well. So if we kind of put those into categories. Yeah, and then the start page is kind of just a navigator. So I just open up and it comes here. I have my inbox, pretty self-explanatory. Even more so if you're familiar with GTD. So this is where I dump things throughout the day and clean it out later. I have the Notion settings set up in the Mac app so that if I press Command N, the default place that a new note is created is that inbox. I have keyboard maestro macros that then have automations that include switching to Notion and pressing Command N. So that's like a little way to sort of, but not really automate Notion until official automation comes out. I have that bookmarked on the home screen of my phone. So the inbox is just a place to quickly dump things. Also the web clipper, a lot of stuff ends up in there from the web clipper. So yeah, just inbox is pretty straightforward. It is a database rather than a page, and the purpose for that is so that I can first of all sort it by different properties that are in there. But then I also just things as I like as much as possible in databases for the purpose of embedding. I wish that you could, until you can embed a link to a page that includes the contents of that page the way that you can with a database, I'm going to keep keeping as many databases as possible. I know that some people see that as more complex, but just for the way that my brain works, it is what's simpler. And a big part of the work writer mindset is just go with what works for you. And so another great thing about that is that that way in my evening routine checklist, I have an embedded view of the inbox where I can just filter through it. Same with my weekly review, all of the kind of GTD habits around processing your inbox. I have those as tasks in my to-do list, which we'll show you later, obviously. And then the inbox can just actually be embedded, and I can deal with it there. Another main area of the start page is bookmarks, and this is kind of my alternative to the built-in favorites bar right here. You can see I do have a good amount favorited, but I also just wanted quick access to some other pages too, while being able to maintain this kind of flat structure down here and also not have too many favorites. Excuse me again, just got a cough. If you're on my email list or follow me on social media, you know that I am in the middle of a move, and I have learned while packing that I have not been dusting as nearly as well as I thought I have been. So lots of allergies right now. So excuse me for the coughing and tissues. But only one more week in this apartment. And then I am off from New York to California. All right, so yes, bookmarks. Yeah, so this is just like kind of my own version of favorites, and I just keep it locked and I keep it at the top of my other favorites. So it's very easy to, it's very easy to get to. You can see that like some of it is stuff that I spend a lot of time in, like my project database, my task database, my content calendar. Some of it is not necessarily stuff that I use often, like affiliate links and swipe files, but when I do want to go to it, it's a situation where like I'm just very much in a hurry. You know, like when I want to grab an affiliate link, a lot of time it's like someone DMing me or mentioning me on social media being like, hey, do you have a link for this? Or it's like just it's a quick thing, and so I want to be able to get to that dashboard quickly, and so that bookmark lets me do that. Same with the swipe file, when I'm just looking for examples of, you know, marketing or design or business tactics inside of like a conversation, and I want to be able to reference something in a conversation. So the bookmarks are really helpful for that. And then the final section of my start page is areas, and this is technically part of the start page, but it's also embedded lots of other places, and so the start page isn't actually where I sort of get to areas, but you know, it needs to live somewhere. And this is, if you're familiar with Tiago Forte's Building a Second Brain and Para and stuff like that, this is one of the A's in Para. Areas. And you know, like obviously, again, if you follow me, you know that I'm very big on customizing and personalizing systems and not following anyone else's system like 100%. So that is true of areas as well. Some of the stuff that I have in here, I don't think would technically be defined as one under Building a Second Brain. So it's adapted loosely. Some of my areas could also be considered projects, and I just have them in one dashboard or the other for the purpose of sorting and filtering just based on my own habits. Yeah, and these are what I use to create contextual dashboards for different areas of my work. And so, yeah, who came up with this? I think it's Max Sparky. The context of just like contextual computing and just like always bringing up like going deep into apps and stuff like that, going exactly to the place you need instead of like clicking or navigating around. And so I have stuff like that where you can see the properties that I have here are just like different things that I would want to be sorting things by. So brand, I run 2 different businesses, and I also have tons of my personal life here in Notion. So the brand is really like what brand or business is it for, or is it not for a business? Is it for personal? And that way I can have pages elsewhere, I think like in areas for BrittanyBurger.com, my other business, for WorkWriter, and for personal stuff. And that way I can just filter those by the brand. I also have related goals, stuff like that. So yeah, just handy. And then inside each area, let's see, which one should we go into? I'm going to show you learning later anyway. Maybe life admin. So you can see that I have related goals and related projects, hidden properties, related learning. And you can see, again, this is like a dashboard. So these are some of the folders that I'll go into more later, like the filing cabinet. We're going to talk about that one later. A lot of these are self-explanatory. Ongoing shopping list, houseplant checklist, recipes, things like that. So this is just where I kind of keep random but evergreen notes. You know, we got engaged at the beginning of this year, and then this year happened, so we haven't really like done anything actually moving forward on that. So I've just been dumping things into here. This is packing checklist was one of the first pages I created, and I love it. It's not super relevant these days, but it is not actually related to packing for the move I'm doing next week. That is a reusable packing checklist for vacations, and has all of like the basics. Like it has like, you know, like one shirt for each day that I'm going to be gone, and stuff like that. It's formatted like that, and then it has like the list of just like all of the toiletries and things like that that I would need, because I am horrible with travel anxiety, and so that was super, super helpful for me. And yeah, so this is just what my databases look like. You can see that inside each area is just an embedded view of all of the things it's related to. And so now let's move into the sidebar. And if you have any questions about what I've shown you so far, just let me know. I'm going to take a quick drink break. All right, next down in the sidebar is plan. I like to look at planning as getting my rubber duckies in a row. So that explains the cover. Again, if you follow Workwriter, you know whimsy is the name of the game around here. And this is all pretty straightforward planning information. This is essentially my custom-built project management system. It's what I now use instead of something like, I think what I was using before creating this was ClickUp. I've tried so many. And yeah, so this is like what I like to call a dashboard of dashboards. And there's just pretty basic information like goals, projects, and tasks. The daily routines is kind of what in GTD terminology would be considered context, probably. It's things like strategy, content creation, admin, housekeeping, just the different routines that I time block my day around. And those are just roll-ups of tasks. And so it's just all connected. And so that way I can easily, log into my computer, say I'm going to knock out all of my admin for the week and dive into the admin routine, or I'm going to work on content creation. So I just jump into the content creation one, and everything that is currently needs to get done or is coming up soon for content creation is right in there. And then ongoing projects and ongoing tasks are actually just filtered views of these. So again, just like I said, there's a lot of quote unquote redundant information in here. This way, just, when I need to clean up my recurring tasks or reschedule some recurring tasks like I've been doing right now because the move, I'm not going to be working much past this week. And so those are just ways for me to quickly view all of the recurring stuff without having tons of different views inside of the main databases. So that's another reason that I like having just like lots of databases, lots of pages, because that's way each individual one can be kind of cleaner and you can just see exactly what you need to see. And then this is just a list of the in-progress projects. Like it's open enrollment for health insurance. I've got some blog posts, some course updates, and then the move. And then down here I have my archive. I know there's lots of different ways to handle archives in Notion, and just what I have found works best for me is archiving based on projects. And so when I'm done with a project, I actually take all of the tasks out of the task database and just like drag it back up into the project itself, and it retains all of the field information. And then when a project's done, I move that into the archive and it saves that information. And so that way everything kind of stays connected to what it is connected to. And so let's dive into some of these. Goals is kind of pretty outdated. I've got to update the actual numbers on all of these, but we've got things like moving to California. This has actually been on our radar since before the pandemic. So yeah, a lot of information has been accumulated in Notion around it. Stay alive is kind of my chronic illness and self-care stuff. What else could I call it? I should make that staying alive, because then song reference. Duh, Brittany. Spend more time learning, grow monthly recurring revenue, grow my freelance revenue. So things are kind of like broken down into granulars. And again, I have to update the numbers, but yeah. And the The database entries are pretty basic, just what quarter I want to focus on them, what area it is, and what projects I am working on that are related to it and moving that goal forward. If you are a member of the Workwriter Clubhouse or have bought the Practical Productivity course and you're familiar with the Workwriter Practical Planning method, you know that I kind of do what I like to call a top-down snowman planning method. And you know, like, this is the top. This is the head of the snowman. And then after goals, we have projects. And let's look at what I track for projects. So we've got basic information, so status, brands, again, for the purpose of those contextual dashboards and just being able to focus just on the business that I'm working on that specific day, since I theme my days by business. And then goals from the previous dashboard. Then there is the related tasks from the master task database. And then I also have some roll-ups based on that. So the number of tasks remaining, since like I said, once I complete one, I will drag it back up. Estimated time, something that I track in the task database is how much time each thing should take. And so this rolls that up. And then I just have a formatted version of tasks remaining, which is using a formula. And that is just what gets me this pretty version here, because I found that when I just had the number there, I would forget which number that was. So you see a lot of labels like that throughout. Holler at anyone else who gets brain fog and doesn't even remember how to use their own system sometimes. And yes. What else do we have here? We have a few different ways of doing the dates. So I have the timeline, the month, and the quarter. Again, not all of those are filled out for every project. It depends on how I feel like sorting and filtering things in the moment. And then since so many of my projects involve creating content or publishing content at some point, you can see a lot of the ones here are either content marketing or content for customers. And so this is related to my content calendar. One of my newer things inside my inside my admin area is keeping a list of my SOPs, since I'm planning on bringing on a virtual assistant hopefully soon, and want to start, kind of documenting things more organized. And so this way I can also connect what SOPs are going to be used in a specific project. And then the last thing we have here is outcome. And I think that in getting things done terminology, that's definition of done. But yeah, that's just for me to put like the goal of a project. And a lot of them are self-explanatory and built into templates for something like publishing a blog post or running a workshop inside of my membership. So you'll see that they're built into different templates. And yeah, so while the templates are open, let's look at these a little further. So all of these are based on full project setup. The simple project template is just an abbreviated version for something that seems like it's going to be small or quick, but I still want to make sure that I have some kind of organization to it. And then these are just all customized versions of full project setup based on common types of projects, like the monthly workshops in my membership, client blog posts for freelance writing, or different kinds of content marketing for my own businesses. And let's look at full project setup to see how I have this set up. So main info is just where I put like the main info of a project, any like deadlines that aren't like maybe like milestones or something within the deadline that I have up here, points of contact for like client work, things like that. Just any important like kind of details about the project goes in there. Then I have the to-do database, and this is the embedded view of the master task database, and so I can just add things here. And then in the more specific templates, there are things already created that I can just drag into the task database, and that was based on a tutorial from Marie Poulin. Again, I think it's the one on how she handles recurring tasks that gave me that idea, but yeah, this way I drag it in, and for certain projects have specific tasks laid out, and then things like estimated time and routine are already filled out. And then this is where I drag things once they're done. And notes, pretty self-explanatory. So for things like content creation, this is where I will paste links to any research. Sometimes I'll paste in like copy that, you know, like for example, for this project, for running this Notion webinar, it is where I put the outline that I am looking down at from time to time, and like embedded the images that I created to promote the webinar and things like that. And then finally, this is new, and I've got to say I love it. I have been in Tiago Forte's Building a Second Brain for I think 2 years now, but it took me a while to get to the point where I had implemented this stuff from like all of the later modules, like the project completion checklist at the end. And so I just built this in over the summer, and I really like it. And it is just a quick checklist of things to do before I move all of the tasks out of this database, move it to done, move it into the archive, everything. Like just making sure to grab any reusable information or content that I can repurpose, kind of add milestones to my important feeling moments in my review section, and then just update the badge. So that is projects. Now let's take a look at tasks. So the properties that I have set up for tasks are just lookups from the project, the area and brand, then the status and the date. Just information pulled from the project's database. Like I said before, I'm looking at bringing on a VA soon, and so I've just started, you know, as tasks come up in my database or as I'm looking at them for some other reason, if it's something that I can probably start outsourcing, I've just started checking that off. And so that way when I'm like meeting with potential hires, I like brought up a view that of what I had checked there. I looked at the roll up of estimated time, and I said, okay, so for things that I'm already doing, this is how much time per week I could potentially take off my plate. That was really helpful to have. Yeah. If you are considering outsourcing and not there yet, I definitely recommend that. Super helpful kind of way of planning ahead and seeing how the hire will affect your schedule. I have the due date, checkbox for it being done, the estimated time and for how long it'll take. And I break things down very granularly, and so my aim is that nothing in the task database should have an estimated time of longer than an hour. If it does, I probably need to break it down more granularly. Like I said, a lot of mental illness and neurodivergence affecting the way that I work, and I know that I need a very granular step-by-step thing laid out for me in advance, even if I'm the one laying it out and creating the directions, which is usually the case. And so if something takes longer than 60 minutes, that's just kind of like a sign. Also, I usually don't work for more than 60 minutes at a time without having to like get up to deal with something around my health and or just take a break and getting unfocused. And so yeah, if something's longer than 60 minutes, that's a sign that I may need to break it down just to beat overwhelm and in order to stay focused on that task while I do it. Frequency is how I handle recurring tasks, and let's go into a recurring task to look at that. So how I have recurring tasks organized is probably pretty simple. I just have kind of two groups of tags in this multiple select. This is for the overall frequency, and then this group is for the actual day of the week. And so something gets tagged with the pattern of frequency and then the days of the week that I do it. And so that way, you know, if I'm up here and I'm checking social mentions, this is actually overdue. I should have done it yesterday. I didn't. And so now it'll wait till tomorrow since it's the next scheduled day. And yeah, so I can just when I'm doing it, I look at this to see when I should schedule it for next. And then also the recurring task database that I showed you earlier is all filtered by this information. Oh, and while we're in something that has this, let's explain the lightning bolt, because I've gotten questions about that when I've shared my Notion before. That is a sign for that something has SOPs inside, or just kind of directions or information. So example, for checking social mentions, it just has links to all of the specific places that I need to check. So instead of getting lost in like the rabbit hole of Twitter, Explore, or the home feed, I can click on this and go straight to notifications and direct messages. Same with Instagram. It takes me straight to my pages for notifications, Facebook, stuff like that. And so a lightning bolt just means that there's stuff inside the page for me to look at. And I can easily also like filter. So the SOPs database part that I mentioned, part of that is just having a list from the tasks database that's filtered by things that contain that lightning bolt. And that's a sign for me of what I need to create more formal SOPs around that are good for other people. But for stuff that's just me, that was the way that I found easiest to have, like the processes written out for specific tasks. Check my notes. What have I not gone over yet? Whoop. Okay, here we go. I think I've explained all of this. Yes, I've explained all of this. So, frequency, I've talked about the properties. Now let's talk about the views. So the main view that I'm normally working from is just today. I can check this off. What? So what do I have left today? I've got to start ordering stuff for the new apartment. It's not going to get shipped right away. I've got to deal with open enrollment stuff. Oh, and this is a chance to see another cool thing that is included in the Notion template bundle. I have a cleaning schedule, and that is in the housekeeping area, but it's just embedded here in a task that pops up twice a week when I do deep cleaning. And it's got a formula for deciding when things are due and overdue. I won't go too far into that in this one, since it is a template included in the pack, so if you want it, you can just grab it. Yeah, but that has been amazing. Alex and I have never easily been able to stay on top of cleaning until this. I feel like we were both people who weren't great at staying on top of it, and kind of dealing with cleaning before mess gets messy and like preventing the mess. But for me, it's been amazing. We're pretty behind on things right now just because we're moving, and so a lot of stuff like vacuuming the floors and dealing with the floors we can't do because there's stuff all over related to packing the apartment. So our priority gets kind of shifted from cleaning over to packing, but normally this spreadsheet database is very clean, and I just feel so adult for having that. Like, it's essentially a chore chart, but it works. And like I said, like, I don't have to navigate over to the housekeeping area every time it's cleaning day, because this just comes up and the lightning bolt tells me that there's something inside for me to follow. And I don't have I don't have that many task templates here because I have them inside of project templates. Like, if I drag up a task from a template, it will have, kind of templated information already. And all of my recurring tasks are essentially templated information as well. What else do we need to go to? Yeah, that is everything from the project management area. Because like I said, this is all just kind of like rolled up and filtered views of the rest that I've already showed you inside of Plan. And so now we go over to review. First of all, we start off with some motivation, pop culture motivation, Paris Geller, and that's kind of how I view journaling. It's kind of like an in-depth biography of myself, and I want to live a life where when I review it, I do not puke. And the review is essentially, the review page is essentially a digital bullet journal. I'm sorry if you hear my stomach growling. It's essentially my digital bullet journal is how I think of it. A lot of the spreads that used to go inside of my bullet journal now go into Notion. However, I do still use my journal daily. It just got to the point where it was a little excessive, and I was filling physical journals so quickly that it was like, what can I offload into a more permanent format? And so all of that came here, and then I still do kind of what's the word, rapid logging from bullet journal terminology in there throughout the day. And so I've got my normal bullet journal spreads, and these kind of could go in planning as well because they are where I plan, but then they're also, I do my planning and reflecting for a week or a month or a day or whatever in the same spread. And so since like the latest time I go into something, it's for reviewing rather than planning, I put them in review, but it could go into plan. And also because I see it as part of a bullet journal. And so, yeah, just my daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. So all of them but the daily are pretty much just roll-ups of the information smaller than it. So weekly is just kind of roll-ups of all of the information from the daily logs that it's part of. Monthly is the same true for weekly. Quarterly, same is true for daily. And then these are just kind of my what would be either habit trackers or other kinds of collections inside of a bullet journal. The time tracker I don't use that much, but I am trying to figure out. My therapist and I are working on ways to improve my ADHD time blindness, and time tracking is one of the possibilities for ideas, but I haven't figured that one out yet. Entertainment tracker is for me to track just what I'm more like mindfully and focused consuming. I realized that I wasn't happy with how often I was just like turning on Netflix and then getting distracted and doing something else. So like when I turn on Netflix and like actually pay attention, it gives me the entertainment tracker, and also just movies and stuff like that. My habit tracker is it is actually a weighted habit tracker. I'm gonna need to do a separate video on that because I know that I can't explain it in like the brief time we have together today. But it's a weighted habit tracker, and I will be adding that to the WorkWriter bundle too. But it is okay. Yeah, let's go into it real quick. But you can see it's weighted. So it's weighted in that there's a lot of different habits, and they're worth different amounts of points. And then I give myself this rating based on the amount of points. And so there's like the trophy for a perfect day. I never have those in 2020. Trophies are a relic of 2019, honestly. The fire is for still pretty good. And then the check marks are for when I just do my most important habits. And those are honestly my health habits, my self-care stuff, my mental health, taking my meds, stuff like that. And then, if I work up and finish all of my productivity and work habits too, then that's the fire. And I'm definitely doing another video about that because I was so freaking proud of myself when I made the formula for that rating. I think it's the longest formula I've ever written. Health tracker we don't need to go into since it is pretty personal information in there. But that is where I track, what do I track? I track my sleep and my steps from this little ditty right here, my Fitbit. I track my sleep, my steps, my food and drink, not in detail, just what I ate that day, just for being able to, when I have stomach flare-ups, kind of try to pinpoint if it was tracked to a certain food. So I'm not tracking things like calories and stuff like that. I just need a reminder of like, okay, what foods did I eat on Saturday? And is that why my stomach hurts today, type of thing. And then word count tracker. If you follow me on Twitter, I have talked about this a lot on Twitter. But my word count tracker, I track, all of the content that I'm creating from, long form, working on this webinar outline over several days, thousands of words and different newsletters, to things like short stuff, and course lessons. And I track like all of my writing in here because I realized that when I started moving away from client work, which was long form content, and towards creating more content for my own businesses, which was often shorter things like email and social media messages, I realized that it felt like I wasn't writing as much, but it really wasn't true. I just wasn't writing as much at a time, but I was writing more frequently. And so this just really helps me visualize my project. As you can see, I have written almost 250,000 words in 2020. And without this as tangible proof, I very often feel like I have not written, and then I have to go in here and remind myself that, oh, yes, I did. I totally recommend this for anyone that creates content and deals with feeling like they haven't done enough. Whenever I feel like I haven't done enough, I just come look at this number. I love it. And this is included in the WorkBrighter template bundle. And then these are kind of like the things that used to go at the front of my bullet journal, just like favorite quotes, journaling prompts, big wins, important feeling moments. 12 favorite questions is another thing from building a second brain. And these are just kind of, the questions that I feel like I am in the world to solve right now. Like, how can WorkBrighter best support workaholics, chronically ill people, mentally ill people, and other people for whom hustle culture is most dangerous? And then, how can I make money doing that? Because that'd be great. And then, how can I kind of live the WorkBrighter mindset in my own life? What does an integrated self-care and productivity system really look like for me? I think I've got it pretty figured out with Notion, but, what other tweaks can I make to the system? And things like that. So these are just things that I try to review once a week or once a month. And yeah, like I said, most of these spreads up here, I live in them frequently, but they're just very simple roll-ups, and they're all based on the daily logs. So I will show you the daily logs. This is the main view that I use. I just title things by the day. I haven't titled today's yet. And this is a kind of report. I definitely got this from someone that was on office hours, but I forget who. And it's just kind of different productivity measures all summarized into one field so that they can show up nice and neat. So we've got my sleep, I am so all over the place. We've got 5 and we've got 9 in the same week. We've got my productivity score from rescue time. We've got my word count, and we've got my habit rating from the habit tracker. So these are all, either entered in the journal on their own, or they are pulled from, this is pulled from the health tracker, this is pulled from the word count tracker, and this is pulled from the habit tracker. And if we go into the daily dashboard, you can see the template that I use most days. Or actually, hold on. Let me show the other templates. So I do have several templates set up. Both of these are included, the quick reflection and the anxiety brain dump, along with a Notion version of the 5-minute journal, are included in the template bundle. And then the daily dashboard is just a more personalized version for myself that I use day to day. And you can see what it looks like here. So I just put a formatted version of the date using the date field so that I can look at a calendar view and do sorting and things like that. Rolling it up to the week. Like I said before, that way it all builds on each other. I choose, what my focus is for the day, which business I'm focusing on, if it's a rest day, if it's a client day, wild card for just when I'm catching up on stuff. Then things like word count and sleep, like I said before, are pulled from the other trackers that I've mentioned before, and this is just the actual relations to that stuff, the health tracker and habit tracker relation. Rescue time is what I use to measure my productivity for work. Part of my weekly review process is reviewing the categories and stuff so that I know that I can kind of trust the score that I get day to day. Since I know I can trust the score day to day, I move it into Notion at the end of the day during my daily review. I also keep track of what courses or books that I have been learning from that day. Again, what entertainment I mindfully consumed. And I've also been trying to take more pictures, and yeah, just create more visual records of my day. You know, I'm a word nerd. I'm a word person, and so the photos thing is me stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit. And then the cool thing about the photos is that I then can create a photo gallery off of the ones that have photo entries. So this was the first day we started packing, and if I enlarged it, it's just boxes everywhere. These are cupcakes after the election. This is my plant. Oh, we had to give her away since I can't take her across the country. I don't know how. Yeah, just, you know, especially I've gone outside so infrequently this year, since it's not, you know, easy to go outside and stay social distanced here in Manhattan. So a lot of just evidence of me going outside. And, you know, evidence of some of the work that I'm on. Yeah, just, you know, that fun stuff. And if we go back into what the daily template looks like, so this is just a short checklist, like for me to note when I did my morning routine. I did that. Actually, I did not do that today. I did not get to check that off for today. Here is where I actually create the linked database entries for health tracker and habit tracker. And the filters for these are set up so that all I have to do is press new and the right date and stuff like that is already filled in. This is a done list. That's a new thing that I'm playing with, but just trying to put updates there kind of in the middle of the workday more often. Brain dumping at the end of the day, something very important to me. I like to say that I don't do morning pages, I do evening pages, because in the morning my brain is not like on yet. It doesn't become like fully alert to the point where it's rushing with thoughts until several hours after I wake up. But at night, try and slow that baby down. Brain is going 1,000 miles a minute, and so I just get things out into there before I go to bed. Word count tracker, and then this is just kind of a guided process of going through the different fields and stuff up above. So I check this off when I update the health and habit tracker, when I update my bullet journal. I also track my health in exist.io, along with my period stuff using Clue. And that's just because, you know, like tracking in Notion is great, and it's definitely the easiest place for me to drop my data throughout the day. But I really love being able to get like the really more scientific insights that Exist and Clue give me. And so just moving information, syncing up the data is part of my daily review process, along with grabbing my daily score from rescue time. Go through my inboxes. You know, if I have anything that I didn't do that I was supposed to today, that guides me through just rescheduling them. This is just where I fill out the learning part of the field. You know, it's just a guided review process. And yeah. Oh, wow. I just looked at the time and it's 3:48. I kind of had a lot that I was going to go. Haven't done the content calendar or learning yet, which are kind of a theme. And so what I am going to do is, instead of rushing through those, I am just going to do another live stream, maybe later this month or next month, definitely after I move. And I am going to do a separate live stream devoted to those because they are related and one way. You know, those are kind of one grouping of things where I just took you through my main dashboard. And so I feel like we are at a fantastic ending point right now. And that leaves us 10 minutes before my hard stop for questions. So let's see if there are any questions that I've got so far. There are not. All right, yeah, so I guess I'm going to hop off for now. Thank you to everyone that joined me. If you were watching the replay, thank you for joining me and not live. But feel free to put any questions in the comments so that I know what parts of Notion and my workspace you all are interested in. And I will let you all know when I've scheduled a new date for the second part of the walkthrough. Oh, Yeah, get on my email list if you want to find out when that is, because email is where I'm definitely communicate with people the most. My emails are really really good. Don't worry. Um, yeah, so you can get on my email list through the link in the description below. If you want to find out when the second part of this workshop will be happening. And in the link in the description below, you can also find links to a free template bundle that I have that's kind of a smaller, simpler version of the review dashboard that I use as my digital bullet journal. So that's the digital bullet journal bundle. Lots of B's. I feel like I'm very drawn to B alliterations because of my name, Brittany Berger. Uh, yeah, and then also in the links in the description below is the link to the paid template bundle. Like I said, $50 for more than 10 templates. It's a really great deal. I've also included training from my membership on getting started with Notion if you are newer to using it. But all of the templates, they're not as advanced as my own setup. I made sure that all of the templates are beginner friendly. So check those out if you saw the workspace, any specific area that you would love to add to your own. And make sure to sign up for the newsletter. Thanks so much for joining me.